The iconic music scene of February 1965 is filled with music, fashion and live shows that you just can't find today. Imagine waking up on a cold morning and turning on the radio to your favorite station and hearing one hit song after another all day long. Little do you know that you are in a very special period of music history that will eventually be long gone. The British invasion is in full swing, as well as the Motown Sound, and the music scene is filled with many talented blues and jazz musicians. Melodies never heard before fill record stores but are now lost to music corporations' profits and image consciousness over the music being created. The music scene in 1965 was a shared cultural experience that bonded people through music, fashion and innovation. So much has changed that it requires some imagination to understand the differences. In 1965, $1 will buy you a movie ticket, 3 gallons of gas, a gallon of milk, a 6-pack of beer, 20 Hershey bars, or a double-decker hamburger with French fries. You might be reading the popular book, The Man with the Golden Gun, by Ian Fleming for $1, after enjoying a homemade Waldorf salad and baked Alaska for dessert. If you head to the local record store, a social gathering spot you might run into friends or meet a new one, you will pay 75 cents for a single, $45 or $7 for the full album. And what might you be listening to on your record player at home? There is still a strong showing for the British invasion hits we learned about from January, but some new additions start getting a lot of radio play from American artists Sam Cooke, The Temptations, and Gary Lewis and the Playboys. Let's break down the music scene of February 1965 and look at some of the sounds that were exploding, that reflect the moment, the culture and society at large. The impeccable harmonies by The Temptations on My Girl dominate the radio. Their tailored suits and choreographed moves made them a favorite act to catch on American Bandstand, The Ed Sullivan Show, and the Hollywood Palace. Doo-wop veteran Jewel Akins was recording at Era Records when a fellow musician's 12-year-old son came up with a nursery rhyme, which Akins' label helped turn into a catchy top 10 hit with the birds and the bees. This sound reflected the innocence and optimism felt at the time. Newspapers in February 1965 were reporting on Ranger 8 crashing into the moon as planned, after lunar surface photographs were transmitted to select future landing sites for Apollo missions. Learning about voyages into new space frontiers and listening to This Diamond Ring by Gary Lewis and the Playboys was a typical teenage experience. Gary Lewis was an unlikely music star. However, his father, comedian Jerry Lewis, was helpful in getting him started in the business. There is much to be optimistic about in the United States, as tax cuts enacted the previous year begin to stimulate the economy. The CEA reported the 1964 tax cut had lifted consumption and investment spending by $30 billion by the end of 1965. Inflation sits at 1.61%, while the median household income in the US is $6,900. Yet the average monthly rent is just $118, while a new home will cost you around $21,000 obtainable on only one income. You can buy the most popular car, the Impala, brand new for $2,600. A posthumous hit for Sam Cooke with his final recording, Shake, is described as a sensational rocker twist affair by Cashbox. Cooke died just 2 months prior after being shot by a hotel manager in Los Angeles. The shocking death of the R&B superstar made his last recording all the more impactful. Meanwhile, over in swinging London, the cultural transformation is in full swing. The mods are driving around on Italian Vespers, girls are sporting Mary Quant's shift dresses, and the bands are busy recording songs for the British invasion. Barbara Hulanicki's Biba Boutique and Mary Quant's Bazaar Boutique are selling out of their latest designs as soon as they hit the racks. The creativity coming out of London is taking the world by storm. It is felt in the music, the fashion and culture from Europe to North America. For getting ready for a day of shopping on Carnaby Street, you might hear Love Potion No. 9 by The Searchers playing on the radio. Hailing from Liverpool and riding the Merseybeat wave that the Beatles helped launch, The Searchers have an irresistible sound in 1965. Speaking of the Beatles, in February 1965, George Harrison gets his tonsils removed and John Lennon passes his driving test. All this while Peter Asher, brother of Paul McCartney's girlfriend Jane Asher, is having a hit with his band Peter and Gordon. The song is I Go to Pieces. They had an Everly Brothers quality and a pre-folk melancholy appeal to their sound. The Rolling Stones' Heart of Stone is moving up the charts, along with the Kinks' All of the Day and All of the Night, Ferry Across the Mersey, by Jerry and the Pacemakers, and Van Morrison's band Them has a hit with Baby Please Don't Go. Them is highlighted in the Record Mirror as a sleeper from Belfast, stating in the article that R&B won't last forever. Billy Harrison tells of their initial cold reception in Ireland with pennies and cigarette packs being thrown at them, Harrison explains. But we played on and at about the end of our spot, a lemonade bottle was thrown at us, so we packed up and walked out. So, the band moved to London, where they await their next single, Here Comes the Night, to be released. For a live show at the Marquee, you can catch Rod Stewart, the Yardbirds and the Who, or head over to Crawdaddy. The greatest happening since Granny got her lip caught on the mangle for some rhythm and booze. The Animals released their single, Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood, and are interviewed for the Record Mirror. They discuss how R&B should be bigger, with Eric Burdon saying, "The R&B scene has not gotten as big as I hoped. There's been a lot of dilution. I believed all along that R&B would be very, very popular, and I was convinced that the Animals would make it." Eric's bandmate Alan Price, the Animals pianist, says, "Eric and I grew up together. He became virtually the only blues singer on Tyneside. It was his interest in R&B that inspired us. If it wasn't for him and his passion for the blues, we wouldn't be here today." An up-and-comer is highlighted for his guitar-playing ability and his first solo single, She Just Satisfies. Maybe you have heard of him? The Rolling Stones finish up their Far East tour of Australia, New Zealand and Singapore. The Sydney portion was filmed for footage in Stones Roll Down Under.
First performance, a show for 5,000 hysterical kids.
February 1965, Baker Street opens on Broadway, loosely based on the 1891 Sherlock Holmes story, A Scandal in Bohemia, by Arthur Conan Doyle, while the Beatles begin filming Help in the Bahamas. But on both sides of the pond, the number one song of February 1965 is an American duo, the Righteous Brothers, with You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin'. Check out more on the sound behind the Righteous Brothers in the January 1965 video.
There's no tenderness like grief in your fingertips.
Well, that's it for February 1965. Hope you enjoyed this trip down music history lane, exploring the music scene and other interesting facts. How does the 1965 time period compare to today's music and culture? If you grew up in this era, does this bring back good memories? If not, do you ever wish that you would have grown up during this time period for the great music? Let us know if we missed anything that you would like to see on the next episode. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. Please leave a comment below.